Hey everybody out there in the YouTube universe, this is Mr. Movie, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It is a top 5 list, but it's not my normal top 5 lists of movies in my collection by a certain actor or a certain director. This one is going to be the top 5 movies in my collection with a badass female lead. When I started doing the channel, I was doing movie reviews. They tend to be longer, so I wanted something with a little shorter run times. So I wanted to be creative, and just like where I do old movies instead of new movies, which is different from most YouTubers, I also did top 5s instead of top 10s, and I didn't do them by genre. I did them by actor or director that are in my collection. And in doing that, I started noticing that I hadn't done any female actors or female directors. And I didn't like that because that's exclusionary, and there are great female actors and female directors. So I was trying to think of who I could do, and I was looking through my collection and thinking, which movies I like by which actors or directors that happen to be female. And I saw that it wasn't that many. And, that's the beast that is Hollywood. I will admit, obviously, I'm a male. I'm driven more towards male stories, I guess you could say, and types of movies where there would be a male lead. So I guess that's partly on me, but it's also partly, I guess, just the preference of a male watching movies. Not every male, but this one. So in looking through my collection, I was like, I wanted to get creative. I said I still wanted to do something to represent the ladies who watch my channel and the ladies who are just as big movie nuts as I am, or the other males that watch my channel. So I want to shout out my friend Nancy, who, we spoke about it, and she was like, how come you haven't done any female? I said, I was thinking about that from the beginning, and I couldn't come up with a list. And I also want to shout out Amanda, because she's the inspiration for the badassness of females out there. And she inspired me to come up with this particular idea of doing badass female leads. I said, that's a cool idea to do for a top 5 list. Like I said, Hollywood is just that way, and it's not really fair. It seems to be changing a little bit, which is cool, especially like in the superhero genre. You get Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, which is pretty cool. So hopefully that trend continues and we get some really cool movies with badass female leads. So with that, shout out to Nancy and Amanda. Let's do this thing. To be considered, the movie just has to be a great movie that's in my collection that I love with a kick-ass female lead. So without any further ado, we're going to start with number 5. And number 5 is Point of No Return, starring Bridget Fonda as Maggie Hayward. You might not know this movie. It wasn't a huge movie, but I remember it from when I was a kid, and I loved it. It comes from a story called La Femme Nikita, and what happens in the story is basically she's a bad person running with a bad crew. They're drug addicts. They're breaking into stores, and instead of jail, they give her the option to train. And she finds out later, after she resists at first. She doesn't want to do it, but she becomes like when they bring her in, she thinks it's just like a reformatory, but she finds out it's not a reformatory. They're teaching her to be a female assassin. And Gabriel Byrne's in it. There's quite a few good people in it. Great acting, great action, because she does become this badass female assassin. But she wants to walk away from it towards the end. She finds a guy that she likes, and she tries to run away from it. And they give her one final job to do, and if she does it, she gets out. And it's a cool movie, and it's good to see a female kicking ass. And what's really cool about it is very more badass version of, say, James Bond, because she's got all different types of weapons. She uses all kinds of different tactics that she learned, when she was in her training, and she puts them all to work. And it's just, the action scenes are crazy. And it's like an early 90s movie, so they didn't have the CGI and all that stuff. So it was, done the traditional way. So she's seriously just kicking all kinds of ass. And great movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest it. You should probably check it out. Point of No Return. Really cool movie. Coming in at number 4, we have Terminator 2. Now, this is Linda Hamilton starring as Sarah Connor. Now, I picked the second one over the first one. Most people like the second one better than the first one. I do not. I think they're even. But the reason I picked the second one is because she is so much more badass in the second one. In the first one, she has no idea what's going on. She doesn't know what Terminators are. She just, kind of overwhelmed by the whole thing. By the second one, she's known this for a long time. I mean, she breaks out of the psych ward. She's kicking everybody's ass, and she's all buffed, and she's got a hideout with guns, and she's just taking it to everybody, and she's hard as hell. Got all kinds of weapons, and she's fighting the bad Terminator, the liquid one, alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's step in step with the Terminator, because she's ruthless and she's hardcore because she's been through so much, and her whole thing is protecting her son, and she knows what the future's gonna be, and she's trying her best to prevent it. And she is just a hardcore chick in that movie, man. She doesn't take any kind of crap and just kicks ass through the whole thing. And it's such a great movie. I mean, it's only, if you want to say it's better than the first one, it's only better from the first one because they could do more effects wise. But other than that, I mean, I say it's even. But I picked it, like I said, because she's just way more badass in this one. In the first one, she's kind of, shy. Oh my God, what is this? The second one, she's like, screw that. So I really love that movie. The whole movie's great, but she's great in it. And it's just such a cool movie. And it is one of the best movies ever made. Shout out to my friend Sung. He's Korean. It's the first movie that he saw in America. So that's a great first movie to kick off your movie viewing experience in the United States. So yeah, coming in at number 4, Terminator 2. Coming in number 3 is Underworld. This movie actually makes me a bit mad. Shout out to my boy Ryan, because he knows I wrote a script that was very, very, very similar to this. And, I used to make music, and I would pass the script out, all studios and shows and all that. And it was before I knew anything about copyrights and all that. And a couple of years later, 90% of the script I made, he called me, did you see this movie Underworld? He was like, the script you wrote. I went to see it. I was like, wow. So it's a lost opportunity. They made a bunch of them, and millions of dollars later. But I am not bitter, because this movie is amazing. They did a great job with it. And it's Kate Beckinsale as Celine. And she is totally badass. Now, this is a different part of the character. I had a similar character, but it's different in her case. And she's a vampire. She's lived for a really long time, and her whole thing, she leads a team of killers who all they do is hunt werewolves. Badass. And the werewolves are big and scary and vicious. And, she's a vampire, so she's super strength, super speed, healing ability. And they use, guns with silver bullets that could take out the werewolves. And she flips and does all kinds of hand-to-hand combat. And all of the movies are pretty good, actually. The first one's the best one, but they're all pretty good, the sequels. But this one in particular, I would say, is the best. And she is so great in it. And that's the other thing I like about a lot of these characters. You look at them and they have a chip on their shoulder because they're women, and they're not treated like the men. She leads the team, and she's like, screw that. She takes over, and she's like, I'm just as badass, if not more badass than all of you people, all you vampires in this case. And she just totally an ass kicker through the whole movie. Great movie too. Great action. You have the vampires fighting the werewolves, and there's a great mythology involved that goes, back to the past and all the way up now, and they're still fighting all the way into the present. Really cool movie. Great effects that still hold up. Amazing when the werewolves change and the fight scenes, and really cool movie. I love Underworld, even though they robbed me. But yeah, I would suggest it highly. You should check it out if you haven't. Underworld, and even the sequels are pretty good. Yeah, so coming in at number 2, all-time great, we got Aliens, starring Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley. Oh man, she's so quotable in this movie. Get away from her, you bitch! She's such a badass. And another thing, she's another one where, they always underestimate her because she's a female. But, once she learns how to use the gun and the flamethrower and all that, she's just kicking all kinds of ass, protecting her kind of adopted daughter, I guess you could say. And, in the case of Underworld, she's fighting all these werewolves. Ellen Ripley is fighting a whole hive of those xenomorph aliens with acid for blood that get you and cocoon you and make them aliens pop out of your chest. She got to deal with all of that. And, out of all the space marines that she's rolling with, she's the last one standing. She ends up killing a bunch of the aliens. She blows up their hive, and then she has to fight the queen. She gets in this armor thing that's supposed to move heavy machinery, and she fights the thing hand to hand in this machine. Complete badass, and nothing stops her from killing these aliens and saving the little girl. And it's such a great, this has been on some of my lists and stuff. One of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it 1,000 times. Better than the original, and the best one of all the sequels. I could watch Aliens over and over. It's such a great 80s action movie, and the effects stand up. The alien from Aliens is probably the greatest creature ever created for cinema. And like I said, she kills them all. Badass chick. Coming in at number 2, Aliens. And number 1, all-time badass chick in film. I put these movies together. I've done it in other lists with this movie. Kill Bill 1 and 2, starring Uma Thurman as Beatrix Kiddo, aka the Bride. The reason why she's number 1 is because, if you look at the other ones, they're using guns and flamethrowers and, bombs and, all of this stuff and all these weapons. All she's got is her hand-to-hand and a sword. Samurai sword. Badass. She fights the crazy 88 all at the same time. She has to go and kill all of the deadly Viper assassins that tried to kill her. Let's start at the beginning. They shoot up her wedding. They shoot her up. They shoot her in the head. They leave her for dead. She wakes up out of a coma. She learns how to walk again. And she just goes on a rampage of revenge, just killing all these other people who are experts also in kung fu and swords and fighting and all of that stuff. And then, you get the flashbacks too of when she was one of them. And she's such a badass. They send her on all the dangerous missions to kill the most dangerous people all over the world. And step by step, she has her list. I have my list here. She has her list. She's crossing them off as she goes to them to kick their ass and kill them. Men, women, masters, lower people, everybody. She's just completely badass, and she kills them in such exciting ways. They're both such, I keep them as one movie. It's one of the greatest movies in terms of kung fu. It's Tarantino, who's my favorite director. Uma Thurman's a great actress. She's just totally badass, and it's so quotable and such great action, great choreography. RZA from Wu-Tang did the score. It's just undeniably amazing from beginning to end, and she's amazing in it. And Quentin Tarantino created the most badass female character in all of movie history, in my opinion, and that's why it's number 1 on this list. So on the list of badass female leads in movies that are in my collection, we have 5 Point of No Return, 4 Terminator 2, 3 Underworld, 2 Aliens, and number 1 Kill Bill 1 and 2 combined. So ladies, I hope you enjoyed this. Gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you appreciate the ladies in your life and the ladies in the cinema. And they deserve, you know, some props because they can kick ass just as much as the guys. So if you did enjoy this and you enjoy my other content, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell so when I make a new video, you get it. And hit that like if you did like it. If you have other badass female characters in movies and you want to let me know about it, throw it in the comments. We'll talk about it. If you have my list in a different order, that's cool too. And share it with your other movie nut friends, female or male. That being said, this is Mr. Movie signing off, and I'll see you again next time at the Flicks.